He means well. That's the part no one talks about. The nice guy doesn't wake up thinking, "I'll be weak today." He wakes up believing that kindness will earn him connection, that patience will win her heart, that being agreeable will make him desirable. But it never does. And he can't understand why. Because from his point of view, he's doing everything right. He listens, he supports, he sacrifices, he treats her like a queen, and yet somehow she always chooses someone else. That's the illusion. The lie that being nice is the same as being masculine. See, niceness isn't a strategy. It's a mask, a disguise built to hide fear. The fear of rejection, of disapproval, of being seen as too much. The nice guy doesn't love freely. He negotiates affection through compliance. He doesn't set boundaries. He trades them for temporary approval. And deep down, he's not kind. He's careful. Careful not to offend. Careful not to lose her. Careful not to risk being alone. But here's the cruel truth. You can't inspire desire through fear. You can't earn respect by hiding your edges. Because what he calls being good, she feels as being safe, but dull. And nature doesn't reward safety with attraction. It rewards polarity. The dance between strength and softness, certainty and surrender. A woman might like a nice guy. She might even appreciate him. But she will never desire him. Because desire doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in tension. The nice guy kills that tension the moment he starts chasing approval. Every whatever you want sounds romantic to him, but to her it sounds like a man who has no center. She doesn't want another mirror reflecting her emotions. She wants a man who can hold space for them. Someone she can lean on, not someone who collapses under her weight. And that's the secret he never learned. Niceness without strength isn't love. It's submission. It's emotional codependency dressed as devotion. It's a performance meant to manipulate affection, not attract it. That's why, deep down, she doesn't trust it. Because real confidence doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't hide behind flattery. It doesn't need to be liked to feel valuable. And the moment a woman senses that your kindness is conditional, that your smile hides a silent expectation, the spell breaks. Because what he calls love, she feels as pressure, and pressure always kills respect. The truth is brutal but freeing. You can't make someone love you by being nice. You make them respect you by being real. Not agreeable, not performative, just whole. Love can exist without respect, but it never lasts. That's the part most men don't understand. They think affection is enough. They think if she smiles, texts back, or laughs at their jokes, then everything's fine. But attraction isn't born from attention. It's born from respect. And respect is not something you can ask for. It's something you command. Not through dominance, not through arrogance, but through presence. The kind of presence that says, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And I'm not afraid to lose you if it means losing myself. That's the energy that draws women in. Not because it's controlling, but because it's grounded. It feels safe. It feels steady. It feels like home in a world of emotional chaos. See, women don't fall in love with words. They fall in love with certainty. And certainty doesn't come from being nice. It comes from being centered. The nice guy seeks approval to feel safe. The man she respects creates safety through leadership. One bends to keep peace. The other stands firm to protect it. And she feels the difference instantly. Because feminine energy tests, not to destroy, but to trust. She needs to know your peace can't be shaken by her storm. She needs to know you can hold your ground when emotion takes over. Because if your calm breaks every time she pushes, she knows you can't protect either of you. And once she sees that, respect starts to fade. Not because she's cruel, but because biology doesn't lie. A woman's heart follows the man who makes her feel safe enough to let go, not the one who lets go to make her feel safe. That's the paradox most men never learn. You don't earn respect through sacrifice. You earn it through self-respect. Every time you betray your own boundaries to keep her happy, you teach her to see you as unreliable. Every time you agree just to avoid conflict, you teach her that your word means nothing. Every time you prioritize her comfort over your conviction, you teach her that you can't lead, not even yourself. And she doesn't want to lead you. She wants to follow a man whose direction she can trust. That's not control, that's polarity. The natural tension that keeps attraction alive. Because respect isn't fear, it's admiration. It's the quiet acknowledgement that says, he moves with purpose. He's not perfect, but he's solid. And once a woman feels that, niceness becomes irrelevant. Because what she truly desires isn't a man who says yes to everything she wants, but one who makes her feel safe saying yes to who he is. He thinks giving more will fix it. If she's distant, he gives more attention. If she's cold, he gives more comfort. If she pulls away, he leans in, harder, faster, desperate to prove his value. But that's the trap, because the more he gives without being asked, the less it means. It's not that women hate generosity. They crave it when it comes from strength. But overgiving isn't generosity. It's negotiation. It's trying to buy love with effort instead of presence. And love that must be bought will never feel earned. The nice guy gives not because he's overflowing, but because he's empty. He gives to get. Every good deed is a secret contract. If I show you how good I am, you'll finally see my worth. But that contract is invisible, and she never signed it. So she doesn't feel grateful. She feels pressured. And the harder he tries to please her, the more she senses that hidden tension beneath the surface. That quiet, unspoken expectation. I did this for you, so love me back. That's not love. That's leverage. And deep down she feels it, because real giving feels light. It flows from a man who already values himself. It doesn't demand, it doesn't chase, it simply offers. But when a man gives from fear, it feels heavy. It feels like debt. And no woman wants to be in debt to a man emotionally. That's why overgiving backfires. The more he does, the less she respects it. The less she respects it, the more he does. It becomes a cycle of self-erasure. He thinks he's showing devotion. She sees a man who doesn't believe he deserves love unless he earns it. And that breaks the natural balance. Because attraction dies. The moment giving replaces boundaries. The truth is, a woman can't admire a man who worships her more than he respects himself. Because if his world revolves around her, where does his center go when she walks away? What she truly wants isn't everything he can give. It's the one thing he's afraid to show. His backbone. Because the man who can say no is infinitely more attractive than the man who never stops saying yes. And until he learns that, he'll keep mistaking effort for love and confusion for chemistry. Overgiving doesn't make her stay. It just teaches her she doesn't have to give anything back. The hardest lesson a man ever learns is this. Love given without self-respect isn't love. It's surrender disguised as kindness. And the world never respects the man who gives away his peace just to be seen. At first, she appreciates him. He's kind, thoughtful, reliable. He listens when she talks. He remembers her favourite coffee. He texts first. He shows up. And for a while it feels good. Safe, predictable, easy. But then something subtle shifts. The excitement fades. The mystery disappears. And the comfort that once felt like peace starts to feel like routine. It's not that she wants chaos. She just wants polarity. That spark of tension that reminds her she's standing in the presence of a man with a center. Because a woman can't admire what she can control. And the moment she feels his world orbiting around hers, the chemistry collapses. At first she feels guilty. She tells herself, He's a good man. I should feel something. She tries to force attraction through gratitude. But respect can't be manufactured, and attraction can't be pitied into existence. The more he gives, the heavier it feels. Every compliment, every favour, every whatever makes you happy, starts to blur together until it loses its value. She doesn't feel cherished anymore. She feels smothered. Because under the surface of his niceness, she senses something unspoken. Fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being alone. Fear of losing her before she was ever his. And that fear kills desire faster than arrogance ever could. A woman's nature responds to strength. Not aggression, not dominance, but direction. She wants to feel his energy leading, not following. She wants to trust his conviction, not constantly reassure his confidence. But the nice guy doesn't lead. He waits. He asks. He overthinks every move, and in doing so, he dissolves into neutrality. She doesn't hate him. She just can't feel him anymore. That's the secret most men never understand. Women don't fall out of love because they stop caring. They fall out of love because they stop feeling polarity. A man without boundaries, without mission, without edge, becomes invisible to the feminine. And once invisibility sets in, no amount of kindness can bring back respect. She'll say, "You deserve better." She'll say, "You're such a good guy." But she'll walk away, not because he was bad, but because he was forgettable. The irony is painful. He gave her everything, and that's exactly why she left. Because what she really wanted was not a man who gave her the world, but a man who made her feel his world had gravity. And that only comes from strength, not compliance. Every nice guy believes he's the good one. He's the safe choice, the loyal one, the man who would never hurt her. But what he doesn't realize is that his niceness often hides something darker, not evil, but unseen. Because suppressed masculinity doesn't disappear. It mutates. When a man spends years swallowing his truth just to be liked, that silence starts to rot. It turns into resentment. Quiet, polite resentment. He smiles through frustration. He says, "It's fine," when it's not. He agrees just to avoid conflict. And every time he does, he kills a little piece of his authenticity. That's the hidden cost of being the good guy. He trades power for peace. But it's not real peace. It's avoidance. And eventually that bottled up anger starts to leak out. Not through violence, but through passivity. The nice guy becomes sarcastic, cynical, or cold. He starts to expect love in return for his self-sacrifice. And when it doesn't come, he blames women for not appreciating him. But she can feel it. The tension behind the kindness, the smile that feels forced, the compliment that carries weight, the good intentions that come with emotional strings attached. And that's when she pulls away. Not because she's cruel, but because she can sense the falseness in his peace. A man who hides his aggression isn't harmless. He's unpredictable. Because suppressed emotion doesn't vanish. It festers until it explodes. And the saddest part, he doesn't even know who he's angry at anymore. Her, for not loving him enough, or himself for never standing up for what he really wanted. This is the nice guy's curse. He thinks he's rejected because he's too good. But the truth is, he's rejected because he's not real. Women don't lose respect for men who are kind. They lose respect for men who use kindness as a disguise for need. Because underneath that smile, she feels the truth. He doesn't want to give. He wants to be seen. And once she realizes that, she can't unsee it. The irony is cruel but poetic. He spent his whole life trying to be the man women said they wanted, and in doing so, became the one they couldn't respect. The lesson isn't to stop being kind. It's to stop confusing kindness with submission. Because real kindness comes from power, not fear. It says, I choose to give, but I don't need your approval to feel worthy. Until a man learns that difference, his niceness will keep betraying him, turning what he thinks is love into quiet resentment. And resentment is the shadow of a man who forgot how to stand in his own light. Rock bottom for the nice guy doesn't come with drama. There's no big betrayal, no explosive heartbreak. It's quieter, a slow realization that he's been performing for love that never came. That's when something changes. Not out of anger, but out of awakening. He looks in the mirror one day and finally admits it. I've been living my life trying to be chosen. And that's the first honest thing he's said to himself in years. Because until that moment, his life was a series of auditions for approval, for validation, for affection. He mistook peace for silence and love for permission. But now, he's done auditioning. That's where real masculinity begins. Not in dominance, but in detachment. Not the cold kind, but the kind that says, I don't need your validation to feel valuable. He stops explaining himself. He stops apologizing for existing. He stops begging for softness from people who only respect edges. And the moment he reclaims that boundary, something in him straightens. He stands taller, speaks slower, moves with intention instead of anxiety. That's the quiet power of a man who's found his center again. He still gives, but from choice, not fear. He still listens, but not at the expense of his own voice. He still loves, but from wholeness, not hunger. This is where respect returns, because now his energy shifts. He's not chasing anymore, he's choosing. And women feel that difference instantly. They can sense when a man's attention is an offering, not an application. He's no longer waiting for permission to lead. He leads by existing authentically, through purpose, through peace, through presence. And suddenly, the same kindness that once looked like weakness feels powerful, because it's backed by strength. That's the paradox of attraction. When a man stops giving everything away, the world starts offering itself to him. Not because he demanded it, but because he stopped needing it. Now, when he looks at a woman, he doesn't see a savior or a prize. He sees a mirror, a reflection of the energy he already carries within. He's learned that love isn't about losing yourself to be accepted. It's about being so anchored in who you are that you can invite someone else in without collapsing. That's true masculine energy. Still, grounded, magnetic. It doesn't chase, it attracts, it holds. And that's the man she was waiting for all along. Not the one who needed her to see his worth, but the one who never lost sight of it himself. For years, he believed strength and kindness couldn't coexist. That to be respected, he had to be cold. That to be loved, he had to be weak. But both were lies, extremes built from misunderstanding, because the truth was never about choosing between heart and backbone. It was about learning how to hold both without breaking. That's balance. The man who has learned the lessons of rejection, of overgiving, of silence, he comes back different. Not harder, not softer, just clearer. He no longer confuses boundaries with distance. He doesn't mistake dominance for leadership. And he doesn't sacrifice integrity for affection. He moves differently now, not as someone chasing love, but as someone who embodies it. Because love isn't a transaction, it's an exchange of energy. And energy can only flow when both people stand tall. That's the lesson every nice guy has to learn. You can't connect from your knees. You have to stand. The woman he wants doesn't need him to be perfect. She needs him to be present. She needs to feel his edges, the quiet confidence, the calm certainty, the strength that doesn't need to shout. Because the feminine doesn't respect perfection. It respects stability. It respects the man who can hold space without needing to fill every silence. Now he gives, but without losing himself. He loves, but without abandoning his mission. He listens, but doesn't betray his truth to keep the peace. That's when everything changes. Because when a man loves from fullness, he becomes magnetic. He stops performing. He stops proving. He simply is. And from that energy, respect and desire flow effortlessly. Not because he forces them, but because his presence earns them. She can feel that. The steadiness in his gaze. The lack of fear in his silence. The way he stands firm in his truth, yet remains open enough to let her in. That's what makes him rare. A man who knows how to be kind without being controlled, strong without being cruel, and loving without being lost. Because balance isn't about taming your nature. It's about mastering it, letting your strength protect your softness, and your softness remind your strength what it's fighting for. That's when love finally works. When it's no longer a battlefield of ego, but a meeting of equals who both bring something sacred to the table. He's no longer the nice guy. He's the whole man. And she doesn't just respect him for it. She relaxes into it. Because real love doesn't require you to shrink. It invites you to stand together.